Okay, I think that works now. I need to figure out why my internet does that. For some reason my upload speed goes to like 2 kilobytes. Only when I want to stream, obviously. So, I think it's working now, which is nice. Which means I can switch over to Frogger. Also this. Close that. Okay. Frogger. Why is my music thing showing? Love that. Okay, let me see if I can hide that. Go away. And music stuff. Okay. Alright. Time for more Frogger. So let's see what we got. We got 4 of the... I think it's 4 in total. Yes. 4 total golden frogs. We beat all 4 of these. We haven't started these 3 worlds. And we're missing the last one here. And the last 2 here. I think I want to start these worlds. I want to try something new. We had a little look at this one on our first stream. So let's try Bang Bang Barrel. Sure thing, let's do it. Okay, good start. Very good start. Okay. Ooh, can I? Feels too low down. Oh, okay, I got it. Ah, I see. They are all connected, by the looks of it. Oh, I'm running out of time already. Uh-oh. Okay. I need to hurry up in this level. Oof. Okay. That seems like a crazy jump to make, but okay. Don't have anything else to go on, so let's try that again. 23 seconds, that doesn't seem crazy. Let's go on this one. Good start. Ooh, barely made that one. These ones are slightly... 10 seconds already. Oh my goodness. Ooh, okay. This is certainly an interesting level. Okay. I think it actually makes sense to stay on this barrel. Yeah, it does. Okay. Oh, nice. It corrected me slightly. Okay. Ah, okay. That's not a lot of time to do anything. Interesting. Very interesting. Start on this level. I want to stay on this one because it gets me the closest. I can do this. I can do this. Alright, it's a good start. That's not the right button. Okay, that's good. over here. Okay. That's one. Took basically my entire time to get there, though. Am I missing anything in this one, or is it just always going to be that? That's a crazy small amount of time. Okay. Maybe there's something to do with staying on here. Not really. I'm still losing basically all my time. Oh, okay. Makes more sense now. So they give me 10 seconds, but they're not... What's the word? Well, I don't even know where I went there. They're not reusable, so I have to be very careful with them. Okay. I think I saw 5 there, so I basically want to grab 1 per run. So let's try for it. I was a little bit lucky there. And then here, I did get the blue without having to use one. Okay, let's see what else I can find. Slugs that kill me. Fantastic. Good to know. Yeah, I think I'll just grab all of them. So I can do some exploring. Okay. So what we got up here? We got orange. Another 10 seconds on the clock. Ooh, what's this thing? That's green, okay. We found 3 of them so far. The slugs are there. There's a life, I think. Yes. That's a bit, whatever. Nice, we found 3 frogs so far, that's nice. It's just to confirm that these fly, yeah, the flies, oh, they do respawn. Oh. Oh, that makes my life easier. But for sure they wouldn't. Okay. Maybe this game isn't as cruel as I thought it'd be. I still want to explore a little, see if I can find the other frogs. So blue is here. Let's see what's down this area. We got that light, that's nice. Red's here, okay. So far, found a decent number though. And imagine the 5th one's just going to be over here. Yeah, alright. Let's just see if I can grab them. Hey, tell us how you doing. Hope you had a good day. Of course. Of course it put me in the middle of the newspapers. Good? Oh, that's good to hear. Do you get the 3-day weekend? Get Friday off? Oh my goodness, of course. It baited me 2 times in a row. okay, but we have the information. We can get it. I just need to lock in. Let's do this. Thankfully, I can just grab all of these. This level would be much harder if I couldn't. Okay. Let's get the green one first. That seemed to be the most annoying one to get. Oops. My life? Okay, sweet. I have no idea at what point in the animation those barrels will kill me. Just playing it a little bit safe. Ooh. That was a little bit close for comfort. Okay. I'm liking this level so far. It's nice. I need to stop talking. My time. I thought for sure they wouldn't be reusable. I think maybe they weren't meant to be. But I'm glad they are. Yay, okay. Let's get purple now. Which is over here. Oh. What happened there? I think it was the camera angle messed me up there. Oh well. A little annoying, but that's fine. I'm glad these barrels at the start seem to have a fixed cycle, so it's the same intro every time. Makes it easy for me. It means I can just sort of brain off, get it done. There we go. Oh, I shouldn't have done that, whatever. You've got plenty time. There we go. Okay. No exploding barrel? Okay, that's fine. Down and up. Alright, who to get next? Where's red? I forget where red is. It's over here, right? Yes, okay. Alright, 2 to go. I'm sure this world is going to get a lot more difficult. They're doing a softball for me at the start here. Which was highly appreciated. That one was going to go in the middle, I could tell. Let's go onto this barrel. Sweet. Grab orange. Alright. Finally light blue. Okay, let's go on to this one. And this guy. Okay. Oops. Okay, that was a good start. Okay, what's this? Ooh, a sliding puzzle. Fun. Oh, the slug. Okay. So why? Oh wait, Can I move while I jump while sliding? I can. It just. Ooh, okay. That makes no sense. Love that. Definitely an interesting mechanic there. That's fine. We'll figure it out. Okay, so if I... experimenting here. Okay, that's fine. If I jump... Okay. It's just grid-based, so it's just, you know, trying to get the right timing there. Which makes sense. Okay. Where are you going to take me, guy? Over here? Ooh. Ah, ooh! How do I deal with you? Can I super jump? I can. Okay. So I super jump over enemies. Is that the mechanic here? Do that to grab orange. What are those? What are those yellow ones doing, I wonder? They're just throwing a lot of mechanics out here at once. Okay, if I do this then that. Okay, orange just kills me. Or yellow, rather. Maybe it's just the drops that kill me? Can't imagine they would make both tiles there kill me as well. Seems a little too much. Or maybe they will. No? Okay, so if I avoid the droplets, I'll be fine. Oop. Trying to figure out how to get to red. Ooh, I can jump pretty far. Oop. I'm on the slime here. This slime stuff seems pretty inconsistent. Maybe I'm just bad at video games, which is very likely. You would think I would stop on this tile. Could I stop on that tile? Maybe it's only if I'm at an edge it stops me? Like, why did I stop there? Doesn't make sense to me, but you know what? That's fine. Well, I can go forward there. Do I have to super hop there? Is that even a tile I can go on? Is it too close to the top tile? There's so much unknown about this level. This mechanic doesn't seem like it makes sense to me. No, I can't super jump either. I thought I can go there. I can't. That's just a wall for some reason. Fantastic. So far, I only know where one frog is in this level. So Seems that first level was too good to be true. Let's go this way. Okay. Alright, I can super hop the gap there, that's nice. And green is here, okay. Oh my goodness, well that's 2. I didn't get it, but I know where it is, so... In my mind I got it. Let's try a left here. Oh, well, hi. Hey, buddy. You know what? Fine. What is here? Is there any way I can see the rats? No, I can't. I just have to hope. Okay. Let's try and... Let's go with... My goodness. The slug. I forgot about the slug. This is the learning portion of playing a single level. Dang. Avoid the slug. Don't go on the seagull. Avoid the droplets as well. There's so much here. Okay. We did all that finally. What are we rewarded with? Another rat area. Rats just jump off. That's a bit silly. Okay, well. So need to be on the slime and be able to super hop over them. That's what I'm assuming I can do there. I try this one more time, and then see if I can maybe go back to the second world that crashed on me last time. See what's up. So what if I just go when there's no rat? Oh! Okay, there is another... That's where the purple is. Okay, so that's 3. At least located. Getting them's a whole different story, but you know what? That's fine. Obviously I can see... Dang. I can see red. And there seems to be a bunch of barrels I can use to get to it. Let's try again. I don't know where the barrel starts. So that'll be a fun thing to figure out here. Because I very much doubt I can jump from here. Oh, well, I mean, may as well try. This feels like too big of a jump down. Oh, well, good thing I tried it. Ooh, man. All right. That's 4. That's 4 done, or 4 located, rather. Now, the last one is probably where the other rats were. So, with that in mind, with only 1 life to my name, let's see what I can do. Wait for the rat. Oh, the rat just appears like that. Okay. At least from that angle I can see it, so maybe give it a bit more time. Pause real quick. Okay. Oh. That sucks. Okay. Jump. Oh, guess I'm going this way now. I mean, that's fine. I didn't know I can go on the beak. That's good information. Maybe if I just wait until I can see the rat here. And then do a funny... Ah, okay. Do that, but better. Same thing here. I'm going to wait a little bit. Go. Super jump. There we go. Okay. So that is the strat there. It also seems like an easier way to get onto the seagull. So that's what I'll do. And then as soon as I see it, turn right and then super hop. Yeah, there we go. Oh, interesting. I have to rapidly go to the right to stop running into it. All right. Let's try that area first. Just so I get a hang of it. It seems like the hardest one, so best get it out of the way early. Hello, Mr. Rat. Okay. Was there a rat in this one? No. Okay, that's just the two. Fantastic. Let's see what next. Let's do purple here. Oh, dang. I was trying to avoid the droplet. Yeah, that's a weird one with how far the jump goes. Doesn't seem like it's consistent. Or maybe I just, again, maybe I'm just bad. Who knows? Okay, so I want to see the rat. I want to see the rat. There we go. Wait a little bit, then go. The rat tripped. That's so mean. Why would the rat trip? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why? Okay. The rat can trip. Fantastic. Whatever. Apparently we're playing Brawl now. I was so confident. I was so confident in my jump. Oops. Didn't change the camera angle there to something that made sense. Okay. Yeah, super hop. And then wait a little bit. We're good here. Fantastic. Alright, come to get your purple. Wait a little bit. And go. Ooh! Oh, he almost got me twice. Okay. Alright. This one seems a little simple. It's just the camera angle does get a little bit annoying. But as long as I just... Yeah. Let's rain cow on that one. We're good. Okay, 2 more. Here and then up. Fantastic. Easy. Easy level. Again, this is more of a puzzle game than anything else. You just have to figure it out and then execute. Now, what is this one all about? Okay, we got... Interesting. Well, that's red already. Let's explore more to the left here if the game will stop lagging and let me do anything. Anything up here? No? Okay. Ooh, okay. Well, that certainly looks difficult. Let's see what's in there. Oh my goodness, the lag on that barrel. Okay. Can I... Oh, I can just go on the top of them. That... I feel that's going to be safer. Ooh. Okay. Oh, okay. I just can't go to the right. Alright. Maybe not safer then. Oh, jeez. I have no idea what happened there. But I got one level done. Nice. Only 3 more to go in this world. Oh, I can go underneath them. That's what happened there. Okay. I mean, I can. I'll die, but, you know. Okay, let's figure this out. This sucks, is what this is. Okay. Okay. These are at least all synced. Oh, okay. Well, that's where blue is. We have gained knowledge. We know where 2 frogs are. Let's head this way. Nope, I fell underneath. Very cool of the song of this level to start with it just make several fart sounds. I love the confidence of it. Okay, so this one doesn't go down, but it feels like going all the way to the top is death. So let's go like this. Oh, there's nothing here. Okay. Fantastic. I guess I have to figure out how to... Is there a button I have to press? Ooh, that's slow. Okay. I see an arrow going here, so... I don't know why I expected. Let's go down the river here. Okay, well that's green. I didn't see anything else there though. I want to go down there again. Because it looked like the back area I could jump to. Also, I'm surprised I just didn't die here. I did die that time, though. Okay, nothing else in the back here. So that's 3 frogs figured out. Let's see if there's anything this way. All 4 of those are moving. I can't go back here. There might be some more stuff past light blue here. Dang, okay. That's a tricky one. It's weird because the second part seems easier because they're in sync. Ooh, okay. Maybe wait on this middle one there and figure out a timing. There might be something past that area, so let's go back there. Ignore red for now. Let's go. Timing. I just gotta go and gotta die. Is this? Okay, it does. Yeah, this doesn't change any cycle. I just have to figure it out. That's annoying. Oops. Well, trying to go fast. Did not work. Okay. Okay, is there anything? There's nothing else here. Ah, okay. That's very interesting. By interesting, I mean irritating. Okay, there must be something else to the right, so let's try that again. Oh, this is a path I can go on. Oh, Jesus. Okay. I, for some reason, thought that was just death. Oh my goodness. Okay. How am I meant to see any of that? I just have to, like, hope for the best? Okay. That camera angle, so that's a good spot for the... Oh, jeez, okay. So here I can see the one on the very right, very brief. Oh my goodness. Oof. Okay, well, that's where I have to go to start with now. There are hopefully 2 frogs in that area. Okay. And to the left, so I can actually see what I'm doing. Then here. Okay. Oh! Okay. Is it just slide in the direction that you jump into, maybe? I thought it might be a hill situation. Slope. Slope is the word I'm looking for. Okay. Maybe not. Okay, that at least is flip down. Okay. We'll get this eventually. Let's go here. Okay. Slide all the way here. Okay, and then... I go a lot slower in that area than I thought I would. It's a learning experience. I'm learning how to not play video games. Oof, dang. I thought I'd be on the other tile there. That's fine. Okay. Go here. Ooh, that went super... Okay. Man, the momentum of this area is throwing me off a lot. Okay. Play a little safe here. Oh my goodness. Ah. Okay, well. More safe than that. I really hope both frogs aren't here, because I don't want to have to do this twice in a row. Oh, dang. I thought I was safe for that. I was not. It is hard to judge perspective on the PS1, especially with a camera angle this top down. Okay. What? How am I meant to get? What am I meant to do there? Okay, I think I saw one of those. That yellow firefly there was more time. I really hope that's the case. It's a little weird. I'll give this level one more try, and if I can't get past that this time, I'll go to the second world. Maybe there I can do anything. Oh. Okay, interesting. Okay. That's a weird bit of momentum there. Okay, I think what happens is if I go sideways and then forward, I still slide one more sideways before everything, you know, before I start just going in one direction. Which throws me off a little bit, but I think I know what that means for this part. Yeah, I like that. One more time. I'm too stubborn. Okay. Fast. Like that. So if I go left and up, I'll get in the middle here. Yeah, that was 10 seconds. But they seem to go all the way to the edges, right? I can't... There's no safe position for me there. I can try. I'll try and move to the side of one. Maybe that's... I mean, maybe I'm meant to go there slow. But, oof. I didn't move twice that time. Maybe it is a timing thing. And Frogger, be nice to me, please. Whatever do to you. Am I safe here? I am safe here. Okay. So this is actually just a... I meant to go slow here. Oh my goodness. Okay, no, I did get further progress there, so let's try again. This game is breaking me. Mentally. Ah, maybe I pressed left a bit too early there. I hit the wall. Quick second. Alrighty. Oh, again, I pressed left too early there. Unfortunate. Okay, and then I Booskadoo all the way here. What? I'm trying to figure out what makes me go twice, what makes me go once. Because it's hard to tell. Yeah, this level is draining me quite a bit, so no matter what happens after this one, I have to switch to a different level. I can't be doing this for the last full hour of this stream. Okay. I don't get what makes me go twice. Because I know if I press left there to, assuming I go twice, I'll just go once. But I guess that's what I have to try now. Ah, okay, well, yeah, done with that level. I can't do it. Let's go back to this one, Spinning Lilies. The one that... Actually, before I do that, let's save the game, because I did crash on this level before. And it would be very funny if I did it twice in a row. Okay. Let's see where this one takes me. 5 seconds, nice. A life there, that's nice. That's the same as the first. This is the same, or a very similar map to the very first, what's the word? Level of this world, so hopefully. Quick thing, sorry. Oh yeah, right. The other frog is here. Golden frog, rather. Let's grab that. I forgot, right. I crashed, so I didn't collect. Okay, hey, blue is here, that's nice. Already doing better. Okay, if I remember correctly, there are 2 frogs north from there. I want to go here, because I think there's 2 here as well, which would be all 5. If my math is mathing. There's 1 here, if I go onto this seagull. Yeah, and that's this one here. Okay. So there's only 1 there. So, find some of the sudden camera changes. That's messed me up quite a lot. That's half the fun, I think. I say coping. So there's 2 up there. I know that much. So let's go somewhere else. Because if I can find the last one, I can then just go grab the other 2 later. Let's see where this one takes me. That was blue. Don't need that one anymore. This takes me nowhere. Fantastic. I don't think I have any time to grab anything this run anyway. What are those guys? Okay. Let's try that way. I saw another path. These guys. Where are you guys going, huh? That's the same area as the start. Okay. Oh, good to know. Sometimes it's hard to tell. It'd be very funny to just put a frog at the very beginning. I swear, it's going to happen on one map. It'll be the one map I don't check. Okay. So, I know I got 2. I know where those 2 are. I also have 5 frogs now, so that's... Ooh, the last level unlocked. But I won't be doing that. At least not until I have the rest done. Okay. Why did... I mean, this camera. The spinning lilies makes it kind of annoying to figure out what each button's going to do. Especially if I have to go quick. Okay. Let's see what's up here. Because it's probably only 2 frogs, but if it's 3, then hey, we're sorted. Okay, that's 1. I'm pretty sure it's only 2, but it's worth checking. Going to this area quickly seems to line up time-wise with actually jumping onto these turtles, which is nice. Okay, let's check all the way to the left here. Nothing. We're up here. Nothing. Nothing. Okay, so it's just 2. If I remember correctly from the last time we did this level, was there a second pelican I had to go to? I vaguely remember a second pelican. Let's just grab light blue. That way, if I find red, we're done. Okay. Waiting for cameras to line up so I don't erroneously jump into the water. Okay. Was there another pelican in this area? Yes! Haha! I remember things sometimes. It's rare. Hello. Takes it to here, and then another seagull? I keep saying pelicans, they're seagulls. They're birds, I guess. There's red. Oh, right. Pretty good, pretty good. I didn't have my achievement checker up. Okay, nice. I did get one. Oh, I got multiple. Excuse me. There it is. That's why I was like, wait a minute. We got 2 achievements. Okay. I forgot to turn on my achievement checker. Okay. Oh no, it's this level again. Okay, well. Ah. What's the point of this area? What? There are so many lawnmowers there with nothing to grab. Well, whatever. Let's see. This camera's so close. Dang it. Dang it. Yeah, that's a wash on that one. Okay. Not all the way down there. We're on the last one of Lily. Okay, and then let's just go take it slow here. Alright, we still got this one here. Let's leave that one alone for now. Oof, man, crazy. Not a lot of time to do that, so let's try that again and see where that takes us. Dang it. These dogs juke me quite a lot. Okay. Man. We'll get there. We got this. Whew. Okay. Let's see what the balloons give us. There's one this way. Oh my god. I just want to learn. I want to learn things. I want to learn where things are before I die all the time. Is that so much to ask? These gosh darn dogs. Okay. Okay, okay. No! I thought there was another one. Why do these dogs get 2 kennels? That's greedy. We both tripped. Okay, fair enough. Why is tripping a mechanic in this game? Come on. I think I hate this game. That was called Bow Wow's Revenge. What did I ever do to you, man? Okay. Let's check the other path now. See what's up here. Nothing. 5,000 points. I don't care. I'm not going for points just yet. There is an achievement for getting the high score. I'm not dealing with that right now. I'll do that after I beat the game. Those two dogs are very unpredictable. I guess that's the point. That's just how fast they go, huh? And then sometimes they just don't go. What am I supposed to do? That's the wrong level. I'm hoping to at least beat this level before I end the stream, because I want to beat another world, even if I did do most of this the last stream. I'll take what I can get. Yeah, why does the top one stops every so often? It just seems kind of random. I don't know if there's a consistency to it at all. The tripping, the speeds. I just have to be better at the video game, which is against how I do things. How dare you? I've learned. Is there anything down here? No. Okay. So we know where two frogs are. We have that one in purple. Now let's see. The previous one, there was one down here. And there still is. Okay, we know where three are now. Now let's take this one all the way to here. 4. Grab these as a little treat. Now here's the thing, do I recall where red was in the previous level? Dang. Because red's the only one I don't know where they are in this one now. This place down here is opened up, which is odd. Dang it. They were not in a good position there. I'm still very curious about what's down here. I will grab this life. For now. Just to feel better about myself. Oh, man. It feels like I should have avoided that one. Oh, hey Cinder, how are you doing? I'm being destroyed by dogs over here. I'm gonna see what's over here. Okay, that's a that's certainly a way to get into that area. Okay, and that's still not really useful to get in the underpass. Yes, exactly. That's Goroth, my comfort frog. It's kind of messed up, actually. The lawnmower death. Yeah, that's Goroth, my comfort frog. Okay, let's get the ones I know about. How are you today, Cinder? Hope you had a good day. Hope you get a 3-day weekend also. It's nice. Oh, hey, Sid. It's been a long time. Yeah, I'm trying to stream again. Mondays and Thursdays, around about this time. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Take that, dogs. Whew, okay, barely made that. Let's grab the life here. Got today off? Oh, that's nice. Do you have tomorrow off as well? I get tomorrow off, which is nice. So, Juneteenth tomorrow. I always forget when it happens, even though obviously it's the same time every year. Come on, there we go. Ah! Is today and Monday are your Digimon trading card days? Dang. They're basically the only days I have, so. Well, hopefully you can still show up every so often. When you're not destroying other people with Digimon. Is Red over here? Red's up there. I see Red. Balloon. I saw a random balloon there. Okay. Ah, you work at a restaurant. Yeah, that's... You don't really get days off on restaurants. My condolences. Grab green and figure out where the balloon will go. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm dead. I am dead. I am a dead frog. So I did see. Okay, I think I remember where Red is now. Okay, I think we're good. Unfortunately, that means I have to deal with the dogs 3 times. Okay. Okay. I need to get the. My goodness, I hate it. Yeah, I had this Verta Frogger as a kid and never beat it. I don't think I even got past like the first few worlds, so I'm determined to beat it now. Much like Cooler World, I beat that on a stream. There's the balloon, I knew it was here. Oh no, I have to get it while dodging the lawnmower. Oh man, okay. Please, 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 please. Ah, there we go. Exactly. Kid me sucked at video games. Me also sucks at video games, but I have more tenacity, I think. Yeah, I beat Cooler World on stream a few years ago now, but now that I'm also into retro achievements, I might have to redo that as well. Because retro achievements are very fun. Come on, come on. I mean, no one plays Looney Tunes for Game Boy. That's why I have the world record in it. I should do more speedruns though. Speedruns was very fun. Maybe not that game because I already have the record. And no one's challenging me for it. Okay, good. We did all the dog ones. And now it's just hopefully... Oh man. This is a bad... These are bad... No! Oh my god. Okay. I have 1 life to get 2 more frogs. Easy! What could possibly go wrong? That, I guess that can go wrong. Okay, whatever. And I know where everything is now. It's just execution. It's just not being silly. I need to get these 3 first because I'm really bad at dodging the dogs. Grab this life. Oh, he stumbled. Good. Thank you so much for my life. Ow! Then I threw it away. Okay. Yeah, weirdly enough, the menu, the loading screen drum loop is really nostalgic for me. I wonder what it's actually sampled from. Please, 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 please. Thank you. There we go. Okay. It's so funny that the you're out of time jingle just continues even if you get a frog. Okay, that's 2. 1 more dodging the dogs. Didn't trust it. Don't trust it. Don't trust it. Don't trust it. Trust it. Okay. You're too young to memories of this game. Oh yeah, what oh my goodness. What generation of consoles did you grow up with, Cinder? I'm guessing it was like maybe PS2 then, if it was a little after this. Our time jingles will why we have anxiety. That is true. Oh, come on. That was mean. This game's mean. That's also mean. Maybe I should grab the non-dog ones now instead. Grab those two first, because clearly I'm having a harder time with those. Please, 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 turtles, please, 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 come, man. I need to figure out. DS and Wii, okay. Gotcha. Hey, there we go. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Did it say AI viewers? Ban? What's wrong with you? What does AI viewers do for me? Why would I want a machine to watch what I do? Anyway. I get that, like... Oh wait, no, that's gonna mess me up. I need to get a different one. That's also gonna mess me up. There we go, that's the one. Yeah, okay. See, I'm learning. I can learn things sometimes. Yeah, maybe ad revenue? Oh my goodness. I guess also, like, to get a partner, you have to have... Oh, Jesus. Ugh. Was it like 75? An average of 75 viewers a stream, which is an insanely high number. I guess maybe you could... use AI for this? That's silly. I don't know. I don't know. Anyone who uses AI is cringe. I would never. Okay, whatever. I only had one life there anyway. Man, they were saying they had the Unreal Engine 6 conference today or something like that. I forget what the reason was. And it's like, oh, they're basically pivoting so much to AI, and it's like, this legitimately sucks. I use Unreal Engine 5 for my work, and boy, I hate Unreal Engine so much. There we go. 22 less than a month. Hey, I mean, happy early birthday. That's fine. Oh god. Boy. Whatever, I'm getting this life. There we go. Okay, we're good, we're good. And oh man. Good thing I got that life. But yeah, they're pivoting to like AI for all that stuff. And they're also getting rid of wow. Or blueprints. Which if you don't do programming, which, you know, you're very lucky. Unreal blueprints are basically what's known as a WYSIWYG, which I like to say because it's a fun word. It stands for what you see is what you get. So basically a visual kind of programming where you see... I did it again. That little gap there is messing me up because I'm trying to avoid the... I'm gonna die here. I'm trying to avoid the lawnmower. But basically you can like make nodes that contain code, and then you just connect them via like a string. And then that's how it will go into each... that's how it will connect what code it does. And, you know, if you're a programmer, it's kind of whatever. It's not nearly as fast as actual coding, but what it's useful for is just visualizing how things work. It's especially people who don't code. So like, it was very useful to use that stuff as like a baseline, and then afterwards, once you figure out how the systems will work, you then, you know, convert it to actual code. They're just getting rid of it in favor of AI, and it sucks. And I hope Unreal Engine loses its monopoly on gaming engines, because it just is generally just a bad engine. I went through the ground.